And joining me in Studio B this morning is the chairman of the Kern County Young Republicans, Matthew Martin. Matthew, thank you for coming in this morning. Appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
Just your initial reaction, and where were you when you heard about this?
Heartbreaking. I was sitting at my office and just in total disbelief that a guy who just really stood for freedom of speech and really opening a dialogue to talk about politics and issues in our society, that he would be gunned down in this way.
Of all the conservative political activists out there, if you will, Charlie Kirk, where was he in your mind?
Well, I think he was tremendously high. When you look at what Charlie did, right, let's talk about Turning Point. Over the last decade, 830,000 students are active in Turning Point across 950 chapters in this country. So when you look at that impact, I mean, tremendous, tremendous. He had a huge impact on the turnout in the 2024 election for young folks. And he did that by starting a conversation, Mike, not by being polarizing, but just by talking and having that freedom of speech and really bringing that to young people where there's been a tremendous void.
And when did you see him in person?
I saw him about 7 years ago at CPAC. I've seen him twice, and after Donald Trump spoke that year, and got to talk to him a little bit in the hallway about some of the stuff we were doing in the Central Valley as they were expanding chapters here. And, you know, we kind of talked a little bit.
I was about to ask you, what was your impression of him in person, sort of in that one-on-one environment?
Yeah, you know, he was very much like he was on camera, very humble. And honestly, he gave each person that wanted to shake his hand and say hi to him, he gave them, you know, that time to look in their eye and say, you know, thank you for being part of the movement. And so it's a tremendous loss.
There have been many different shooting attempts that have been made with different types of lawmakers and on both sides of the aisle in recent years. Will this, do you think, result in anything moving forward to change this narrative or change this whole idea?
You know, I hope so. I mean, I hope that, for Charlie's sake as well, that this is a turning point. You know, we saw multiple assassination attempts against now, you know, President Donald Trump. We've seen this. We saw, you know, Steve Scalise, the second in command in the House. This is just tragic, and this is not how we need to, this is not, you know, this stuff happens in third world countries. This happens in communist countries. This should not happen in the United States of America, and especially for somebody who was a real thought leader for his generation. And he started it very young at 18 and decided to take that route instead of college, and made a tremendous impact on millions in this country to start talking around the kitchen table in a divisive time of politics where things have been very polarized the last decade or so, to sit down and have a conversation. And I really hope, much like you know, as we all got up on September 12th after 9/11 on this day, I hope that people get up in this country today and say, you know what, we need to get to the table and have a conversation, because this cannot continue.
I don't want to move too forward too quickly, but with how dynamic he was within the conservative movement, is there anyone that could not replace him, but move into that position? Well, you know, or was he so singularly unique that it might be impossible?
Well, I think he was tremendously unique. But, you know, God has a plan in the future here, and I can't say that for sure, but there are other folks, Ben Shapiro and other folks that are having these conversations, and I think someone will arise. I don't think Charlie Kirk's replaceable, but there will be somebody else, and I think that this also pushes this conversation of being able to have the freedom of speech, because what wasn't under just attack yesterday was not just Charlie Kirk. It was a movement. It was a nation. It's what we stand for. It's one of the founding principles: Republican, Democrat, no party preference, decline to state, all of that. It was an attack on what we stand for as a democracy, to be able to come to the table, have a conversation. Maybe we disagree on something, maybe we agree on something, Mike, but we can have that dialect and hopefully come away a little bit better people and maybe seeing an insight of another American. And I hope that we can get that back.
Will we see that conversation come to the table? I mean, especially among the young out there, because such a huge turnout in the last presidential election. They're saying that many of the younger Americans, who many people dismissed as not being very political active, now getting into the fray, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we will, and I hope and pray that we do. And again, you know, we saw a 11-point jump in young voters coming out and turning out for President Trump, and understanding that they too have a voice in our process. And I hope that will continue, and that's our job right now, is to stand up tall this morning and to get back to work in Charlie's memory and in honor of everything that he's built. We have to keep going.
Matthew Martin, thank you for coming in this morning and sharing your thoughts.
Hey, thanks
appreciate
so much,
it.
Mike. I appreciate it.